its sacred places. So for those who have followed last week, you have already seen how beautiful Myanmar is, how interesting a place is. There's really a lot to see and discover, and its sacred places are really very, very special. So we are looking forward to seeing you here and looking forward to making you again fly towards this beautiful country, which is located in Asia.
It is. It is really a beautiful country, gilded from the top to the bottom of their monuments and their hearts also. Very kind and gentle people, looking forward to help you, make you stay well there, and with a very rich culture and spirituality. Very big, important monuments also. Really, really very to travel.
Yes, so we are now seeing the first people that tuned in, and so hello to everybody, and we really hope you will enjoy going on discovering this beautiful Myanmar or Burma. This was the name that the British gave to Myanmar because it was part at a point of the British Empire. And actually when you go to visit what is nowadays the ex-capital city, you actually see that the style is a bit British. It is actually a very beautiful city, very beautiful. Very crowded with a lot of traffic as well. Yes. So we say hello to Sylvia. Hi. And welcome here. And Mara, Mara, you are always here. You're very punctual. So hello. And Simona, yes, hello and welcome. Yes, so let's start. Yes, I think we can really start and go on seeing Myanmar. Actually, we want to start making you see in a better way what is for sure the most enchanting, the most spectacular of all the places of Myanmar, and that is Bagan. First, let's have a look at the map so that you can actually locate this country. You see that its borders are India, Bangladesh, China, Laos, and Thailand. And it's the third biggest country in Asia. So you can imagine that distances are really very huge. So if you want to see a lot, let's say something like 10, 15 days, usually you have to take some local flights.
It's better because the region is very mountainous and very, very large. And traveling by train is almost possible. Or better, you can actually travel by train, but it's the same train that was still in use during the British Empire in the 1800s, so it will not be a good suggestion for you to travel with those trains, which are really
so slow and
dancing in the
really bumpy, and sometimes they reach a speed of 8 kilometers per hour, so you can imagine. And it is not possible to hire a car, so if you want to travel by car, you have to use a driver. But that's actually a good way to travel. This partly was the way we traveled. We decided to travel when we were in Myanmar. And of course, we say hello to Masha. Hello,
Hi.
Masha. Hope you will enjoy this live. And Juicy and Doris. Hi and welcome.
And Valeria.
And Valeria as
Also,
well.
yeah.
Ah, Valeria. Ah, nice to see you. It's quite a long time we haven't seen you on here. So hi, and hope everything's fine with you.
So let's start with Bagan, which, as you can see here on the map, is called Pagan, the old name, the central part of Myanmar, along the river Ayeyarwady, which is also called Irrawaddy. It has two names. The real name is Ayeyarwady, but it's quite difficult to pronounce for most of the people, so the other name.
Yes, and actually that is a very comfortable and nice way to travel, part of Myanmar, because it is really comfortable, and there's a very special mood traveling by boat and seeing the country in this way. So, for example, we took a boat from Mandalay to reach Bagan, and it was really fascinating.
Actually, the boat is a bit faster than the train.
Yes.
So you can really understand
yes.
why we are not suggesting you to take the train.
Yes. Can be frightening sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
You may think it's going to collapse or, you know, break into pieces, and so
jump out of the rails.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's it.
So here is Bagan, which is the ancient capital city of the Mon Empire. We talked about the Khmer Empire, and the last episode we talked about the Mon Empire, which are actually almost the same ethnic group, but they are two, let's say, split up in very ancient times, and had two different cultures and two different empires. The Khmer Empire dominating on Cambodia and most of part of Southeast Asia, and Myanmar dominating most parts of what is now Myanmar or Burma. So very close, as very close friends, also in ancient times. And the empire was started a little bit earlier than the Bagan date, but actually the emperor decided to move Bagan to build a better kingdom in a very in a position with a very good luck and energy for the empire at the exact center of Myanmar. And it was more or less our medieval time during the 1000 AD. And it started with some temples and adding many temples along the way. And as you can see, Bagan at his most glorious times had almost 4,000 temples.
Yeah, so it's really an amazing number if you think about 4,000 temples built in that area, which is really flat, as you can see. And Enrico, we have to say hello to Eleonora
Rebecca
and
you.
Rebecca and you from
Hi
England,
again.
yes, and Eleonora here from Sardinia. Hi, nice to see you.
Hi.
Yes. So yeah, so
see you next week.
Where with Eleonora.
Yeah, with
See
Eleonora.
you very soon.
Yeah.
Discovering places in Sardinia. Yes, and so yeah, as you see in this picture, it's really a flat part of land, and there were many temples. But even now, when you have a look on this wide land, you see that there are temples everywhere, you know, and this creates such a special mood and atmosphere, and it's really like traveling back into time, and you wouldn't go away from that place, you know. We stayed a few days, but we would have stayed again and again because it was so special, and the light is so beautiful, and yes, the energy is really a very balancing energy. It makes you feel really good. You feel energized, but at the same time very calm and quiet, and you just want to meditate or then walk around, or you can take a bicycle. It's possible to travel around by bicycle as well. Yeah.
It's a very quiet atmosphere. Yes. You can stroll around the plain, exploring temples.
Yes.
It's really out of time place.
Yes. And for example, we stayed in a very nice hotel,
which had a small shrine
yes.
Inside the property, inside the garden. So it was really incredible, even at the hotel, to remember where we were.
Yes, we had this small temple, and every night they lit up candles, and there were tables where you could sit just next to the temple
in the garden.
In the garden. It was really magic. Magic is really a word that you can use for this place.
So the Mon Empire was already from the beginning a Buddhist empire, but actually, like other parts of Southeast Asia, had an Indian influence. So there were also other religions present, mixed up inside the population, like of course the Hindu religions. All the temples are Buddhist, but a couple, more or less, a couple renowned temple which are instead Hindu. One of the biggest one.
So now, yes, we are going to show you some of the most beautiful temples of this area.
Of course, because they are Buddhist temples, they are made like they have a plan, which is an Hindu plan, but it is not really an Hindu plan like in Cambodia, like we saw in Cambodia, which was done using Vastu Indian techniques. It is very similar, but it's different. This is a Buddhist architecture. It is still a representation of all the creation, and it is still made like a mandala. but there are a few differences. For example, as for Hindu temples, um, you always have different enclosures, and as for the Khmer temple, you have the temple pyramid structure, or temple mountain, which was a typical Khmer tradition, in which you had to build a step pyramid to represent the Mount Meru, which is the center of the creation, where Hindu divinities live. In this case, the Buddhist temples do represent the whole of creation. They do represent all the different subtle layers of the universe, but they do not represent Hindu gods, of course, and it is not a tradition that gods are living inside those layers of creation. Buddhists know there are many thousands of spirits, different kind of spirits, also gods living there, but it's not important because Buddhists are totally focused on enlightening themselves. Yeah. So the whole of the spirituality is about training the mind, freeing the mind, purifying your karma in order to reach a state of nirvana, which is a state of liberation, of non-attachment to the material world, in order to free yourself and reach the nirvana. So reach this state in which you have a clear mind, and you can have psychic powers. Not a problem in Buddhist culture, because it is actually a tradition. There's a tradition which says that if you are able to enlighten, you will reach those psychic powers easily, as Buddha, the historical Buddha, did.
We have anyway to underline, especially for those who didn't follow last week, that here in Myanmar, people follow the Theravada tradition. So in this tradition, not everybody can really reach enlightenment, but only 5 people all over during the whole cycle
of our planet.
And so they
all the times, and
yes,
in all the people, only 5 people can
reach enlightenment. So they are very devotional, and their target is actually, of course, to get anyway liberated from their karma, you know, in order to lead better lives, you know, because of course they believe in reincarnation, and that you come back if you have heavy karma.
So in the Theravada tradition, you really are not reaching for nirvana or liberation. The biggest aim you can reach is to liberate your karma, free your karma, and gain a luckier reincarnation the next life. So many times Theravada Buddhism is about luck. It is about purification of the karma, but purification of the karma is done in order to reach more luck in the next life. So it's about praying Buddha for luck, and more money, more easier reincarnation, easier times to live, free ourselves of tough times. and that's the most noble aim they can aim for. However, I was telling you about the layer of the universe because here you can see a very clear representation of the whole layers. Every step of every roof of this multiple roofed temple is a layer of the universe, and in the center you have a stupa, which is a traditional Buddhist monument. It is more or less an antenna,
yeah.
a very pointed tip of the temple, which is trying to reach for the center of the cosmos. Many times in stupa structures, as we saw the last episode, there are some relics of a very important monk underneath the stupa. So the stupa usually is funerary monument. In this case, a temple. It is a pagoda. It is pagoda is the name, Burma name for a shrine, a temple where you can pray. What else? Something else? And of course, the plan is square. All the Buddhist temples have a square plan. If you have ever seen a mandala made by Tibetan monks, you will see that the plan of the world is square. So all the Buddhist temples are square.
And they represent harmony of the universe. So in these temples, you actually can go all around the temple, following a route that is square. And at the cardinal points, you have a statue of Buddha, representing Buddha, usually.
So this means actually, of course, all the temples are aligned, the cardinal points. So this means that every Buddha, which is positioned at the entrance of one of the 4 entrances, it is positioned guarding, looking at the 4 cardinal points. This means the intent is to let the Buddhist energy of the Buddha reach that cardinal point. So 4 Buddhas means they are trying to transmit the energy of Buddhism all around the world to the 4 cardinal points. And also the 4 Buddhas are the 4 enlightened people of the 5, which have already lived on earth. Buddhism is actually nowadays waiting for the 5th Buddha, which it is said will live around time 2000 BC.
So
actually, in Bagan we can have a very peculiar temple, which is a pentagonal temple with 5 Buddhas, of course dedicated to all the 5 Buddhas.
So people there in Myanmar are waiting, actually. They're really looking forward to seeing this new Buddha. Okay, we say hello to Mariella. She always follows our live shows, and she's asking if recently there has been an earthquake in Myanmar.
Actually, the place where Bagan is seated, is located actually is it's an earthquake hotspot. So it brought very good luck for the Mon Empire, but not so good luck as for the earthquakes, because as was telling you about the temples, there were 4,000 temples in historical times, but there were many earthquakes, especially in Bagan as an epicenter. They had epicenters in Bagan, and also time passed by, and many temples were destroyed because of the earthquakes and times and people passing by and destroying the empire. And nowadays we can still see at least 2,000 and something temples. And recently it was, I think it was 3-4 years ago, there was another earthquake in Bagan specifically.
It's anyway a land of earthquakes, yes. And Rebecca is asking, what is the origin of the first Buddha? It's a long story, I'm afraid.
Yeah, really. In the Buddhism cosmology, actually, Buddhism is using the same cosmology as Hinduism. So the layers of creation are very complicated. But I can only say you this thing. As for Theravada Buddhism, in the whole universe, you can only have 37 Buddhas. So this means the whole of the creation will have many inhabited planets. In each and every of these inhabited planets, it depends on the size of that planet. You can have 4, 3, 5, or also 7 enlightened people in all the time of all of that very big cycle. But in the cosmology, both Hindu and Buddhism cosmology, there will be a time, a cosmic time, in which our universe will collapse. Probably just think about gravity pulling all the planets again at the center of the cosmos, making universe collapse and provoking another Big Bang. At that time, there will be the start of another cycle of creation with another 37 maximum Buddhas in all the planets of the new cycle. In our planets, we can only have 5 enlightened people, and the fourth Buddha is the historical Buddha, the one which taught Buddhism in India in the 6th century BC in India, and he was Gautama Siddhartha. He was the fourth Buddha. That is the tradition. The other 3 Buddhas, we really don't know the name. But again, there are 4 in our planet and 37 in the whole of our cosmos, in all of our times of our cosmos.
It's interesting to see that in the cosmogony, cosmology, there is this idea which is very scientific of expansion of the universe and contraction, you know. So exactly. Beginning, end, but then actually it's really no end. There's no end because then another cycle begins. And Marielle is also asking if in each temple there are Buddha's symbols. There are statues, lots of statues. Yeah. Lots of statues of Buddha.
4 are the usually the bigger statues, which are at the cardinal point, exactly at the center of each side of the square of the temple. The temple will have 4 entrances and some concentrical corridor, like you see here. This is a square corridor, and the corridors are concentrical. Here is another beautiful temple.
This is almost
you can still see
white,
gold and red.
Gold, yes.
You can still see the multi-roofed layers of creation. These are other corridors, and 4 are the main Buddhist Buddha statues. Then along the corridors, as you can see, there are quite a lot of niches. It depends on the architect which constructed the temple. You can have some other minor Buddha statues, but usually they are not just Buddha statues. This is a peculiarity of Buddhism. In Europe, in Western countries, we just think Buddhism is only devoted to Buddha. Actually, as Catholicism does, you have God, then you have Christ, and then you have many saints. In Buddhism, you only have Buddha, but we saw it earlier. You already have 4 different Buddhas, and you can have many different kind of Buddha, like a medicine Buddha, good luck Buddha, prosperity Buddha, showing different Monday, aspects of life. Sunday, Tuesday, there's a kind of Buddha for every day of a week. So every Buddha for a different aspect of life. Those niches are for Buddha statues of different kind of aspects of life. You can have the Sun Buddha, the Moon Buddha. In some sects, you can also have a Buddha of a different planet, of a planet different from our own, but this is Mahayana tradition, it's not a Theravada tradition. In that case, many people are praying for reaching a very good luck incarnation in that planet. Which is said is totally covered in gems and
it's a nice thing.
And precious metals, and you will have a very good karma. That is will be the last incarnation for you before reaching the nirvana. It's a very fortunate incarnation in that planet. This is called the Pure Land Buddhism. So they are trying to reach a pure land, a spiritually pure land.
There are also representations of the tree under which Buddha got his enlightenment.
Pictures on the left.
This is something you find
left
as
corner.
symbol.
You can see a kind of tree, a metal tree. This is an offering tree, and again it represents all the cosmos, which they are layers, and there are things appended to it for offering. And the last symbol I was telling you about, especially in Bagan, there are many scenes of the life of the historical Buddha.
They are like, especially depicted on the walls.
Like in our churches, you have different scenes of life of Jesus Christ. For example, you have everywhere scenes of life of Gautama Siddhartha, or symbols of that. You can also have symbols. Every slice of life represented by a symbol. If you see we talked about the Buddha's footprint on the last episode. the Buddha's footprint actually has 105 symbols. Every symbol has a meaning of one of 105 most important teachings of the Buddha, which was taught in one of his slice of life. So it is 105 teachings along 105 slices of life of the historical Buddha.
And we were also saying last time, but we would like to remind you of this, that when you enter a temple in Myanmar, you have to enter it barefoot. So you are not allowed to use any kind of shoes or sandals. And actually you walk a lot before you reach the actual temple, and then you walk all around the temple, you know, to see and pray, of course, if you want to pray at the 4 cardinal points. And so you really have to walk. And walking, especially if you do walk clockwise, is really a very energizing technique, harmonizing all the chakras. So it also has a function that is strictly connected with our chakra points and the harmony of our chakras.
It is a Buddhism deambulation ritual of walking around the temple.
And of course you have to think that the temple has a very good vibrational energy, and it is very positive. So while you walk, you energize and harmonize your subtle bodies, and of course also your dense body. But if you think about it, in many traditions you have this thing of walking, you know. It's the same in our tradition when we have processions. So there is this thing of walking, you know, because it's a way to pray and concentrate and focus and energize your body, but especially in these kind of temples, of course.
In Catholicism, many times in the date of saint, the saint statue will be brought out of the church with a carrier, and they will turn around the church 3 times with the statue. This is a propitious rite, but in Buddhism especially, you have to think about the Dharma Chakra, which is the wheel of your good fortunes, literally. That is the meaning of Dharma Chakra. Chakra is wheel, a circle, or a spiral. Dharma is well-behaving in confront of the universe. You have to do
to behave well, yes.
Yeah, you have to do the right things in order to live well in a very harmonious way with the universe and produce good action. If you do good action, you will receive a good Dharma points.
Yes.
Say
instead
of the karma points. Credits, exactly. So every time you turn around the chakra, the Dharma Chakra, you can earn credits. In the another Buddhist tradition, you have the wheel. You just make it's a kind of sound bell. You
the wheel rotate,
turn the wheel, and you will purify your karma. You can do the same by turning around the temple.
And actually, when we were there, we measure with our dowsing technique. We measure if that was true. So we measure ourselves before walking around the temple and afterwards, and we actually saw the difference. And the difference was, of course, much more positive. And we say hello to Antonio. Very happy
Hi.
to see you here. Hope you're well.
This is Dhammayadzika, which is the only temple probably in the world, not only in Burma, which has the pentagon-shaped plan, because it is dedicated to all the 5 Buddhas of all the time of our planet. So you can see it is not a square. You have
it's
angles around.
Yes, beautiful. This one is another one, and it's also white, a white temple.
They are restoring it.
Because as you see, it's a bit
ruined by humidity and especially pollution.
Damaging this beautiful temple. So these white temples are really beautiful because they go against this blue sky that you always have in winter time, because winter is the best season to go there. It's a dry season, and so you have these beautiful blue skies and you have these gorgeous temples. So those that are those that are gold or white really are beautiful against this against the sky, the blue sky.
This is a trick. Instead, in this temple, it is square shaped. It has a square plan with 4 cardinal points, but in one cardinal point they placed 2 Buddhas in order to make 5 on a square plan. It's a trick. They didn't know how to resolve the architectonical question about they didn't want to break the tradition of a square plan, so they did a square plan with 5 Buddhas.
Yes. And you see, those are very beautiful because they smile, I love that, the smiling Buddhas, showing that meditating is not suffering but reaching inner joy. And this is an aspect that I really love about Buddhism, really get into a level of joy, inner joy. This is another beautiful temple.
It was the sunset temple, but now you cannot see the sunset anymore because it was too big tourist attraction. So there were thousands of people seated on the temple to see the beautiful sunset on the plains, with all those temples taking many hues of colors from yellow to red and purple. It's an incredible thing to experience, to have a sunset in Bagan.
Yes.
Nowadays, the best temples are closed for sunset. You cannot aggregate. You cannot,
climb
there,
down,
and it was dangerous for the stability of the temple. Payatonzu, it is one of the oldest temples in Bagan. It is a three-folded temple. You can see 3 small towers with some secret corridors, very narrow and very low corridors connecting the 3 stupas. And this was done for meditation. Actually, inside the temple you have this very small, very dark room. I think it's less than 2 or 3 square meters to meditate in darkness.
And here you have a picture of sunset there, really magical. You can also, if you want, you can have a ride in a balloon and see Bagan from above.
Very expensive, but it's the
we didn't do it,
actually. Experience to do.
It is very expensive, actually. Yes. Right, and then okay, we're saying goodbye to Bagan, and we really hope to go back one day, because it's really a place that is very warm in our hearts. And this is Pindaya, and it is a sacred cave with hundreds and hundreds of statues of Buddha.
Brought by the pilgrims for offering.
Yeah. It's a place that is really breathtaking, you know, because you enter this cave, and of course, caves have always been sacred, you know, since very ancient times, because it's like the womb, Mother Earth's womb. And so even later on in different religious traditions, you find that caves are still important and used by new religions. It's the same in our religion, and it is the same in Buddhism. So you have sometimes these caves filled with thousands of Buddhas put there like offerings. So you have different sizes and different materials. And yes, we can show some other. For example, in this case, you have all these Buddhas with mudras, so the different positions of the hands, of his hands. And
it's a row with dozens of statues. Each statue a different, and the meaning.
So
every mudra has a meaning. Mariella, I only see your question now. There are no pools in Bagan. Probably it was just a reflection of the floor.
No, they don't use any pools.
No, not here. There are many in Angkor Temple, but not.
Yes, in Angkor there are huge pools. Yeah, and here you see the size of the cave itself. You know, it's really huge.
The main room is really a labyrinth. There are so many Buddha statues that you just lose yourself in middle of all the corridors. You can pass hours trying to reach the exit, just totally in awe and like astounded.
Yeah,
you really
true.
don't. I don't know, the mind will just blow up.
And here we are on another beautiful area of Myanmar, the Lake Inle. And this is a very special place. And again, it's really magical because it's totally different from anywhere else. The lake is really very huge, and people living there, they live in perfect harmony with the environment. They live on houses built on the water, and they can even cultivate vegetables and
on the water.
On the water,
there's a kind of technique in which they use a kind of very soft soil which can float.
Yes. Yeah, and they have a very special technique to fish, you know, as you can see here. Very, very special. And they need a lot of balance, you know, in order to fish. It's really spectacular to see it. And it's a very, very old tradition, and it is still practiced.
Boats are very unstable because they are very long and very narrow, and the only space you can have to stay on foot is at the end part. So the boat will just pull up and they need to stay on one foot. Usually they pedal with the other foot because they need both ends free in order to use the net. So imagine to stay in balance on a boat like this, on one foot, the other foot pedaling and two hands working. Here there's a picture of it. They are pedaling with the foot, as you can see.
So they really need a lot of balance. And they have this very peculiar nets fish. The place is with mountains all around, and here you see their houses. They're very simple houses, and yeah, nowadays there are not as many fish as it used to be, so life is getting a bit harder for them, and this is due to the pollution and the change in climate on our planet.
This is the main street of the village. As
So
you can see,
the
you
villages,
don't have streets.
yes, no, it's everything is
Just
on the
water.
water. And of course, when we stay there, we stay in a hotel on the water, and we slept in a room. It was just really like a proper house on the lake, and it was just like, again, like being out of time. And you know, at a point early in the morning, we heard the chanting of the fishermen, and we were in the middle of this lake, and the sun was rising. It was just, yeah, a very deep experience, very emotional. Here you have a view. We were just like there, you know, in the middle of nowhere, and the sun and the chanting. It was so beautiful.
Here's a ritual, a parade we encountered along the streets. Meanwhile, traveling Myanmar, and this was a very, very long parade for celebrating the new monks, which are 5 years old, because they almost don't have school in Myanmar. The ones they have are private school. I think that the public school is still expensive for many persons, for many people, and so the better way to learn how to speak, how to write, how to do some math for the children is to leave them for a period inside the monastery, because Buddhism monasteries teach children for free. So it's the easiest way they can
learn,
they
can
learn.
be educated, yeah. And sometimes, anyway, people, you know, go for some time, even later on when they're adults, they spend some time in a monastery, and this is also a way to get some credits.
Yeah. Actually, you can enter or exit the temples with ease. Children usually stay from 5 years old until 18 years old. Then they will go out and live a normal life if they want.
Yes.
If they want, they can stay and follow the monastic life. And
there are also women following the monastic
during
life.
Their life, many times they decide to pass 1 month more in a monastery just to purify themselves, earn credits, and then they just live again. Many doesn't climb the ladder of layer, all the levels of being monks. They stay at the lowest levels, but they can get in, go out for free, really. Only few people decide to continue and have the most important vows.
Yeah, beautifully dressed. Yes, beautifully dressed. Lots of colors. There was music. Parade. You see women very nicely dressed and with a tanaka on their faces, which is a powder made out of a tree. Yes, and it helps keeping the skin very, very good, very nice, and it also protects from the sun, which is quite.
This is one of the temples.
Yeah.
Here in it was in Lake Inde.
Yeah. Yes. The temple with lots of cats.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. There was free tea and peanuts, so we stood there a bit to meditate.
Yes. And a cat found. Yeah. His comfortable position. Yes. And many people were taking pictures to Enrico with the cat on his lap. Yes, funny.
As you can see, they are all wooden.
Yes.
Many monasteries are completely wooden.
And here's some monks, young monks, having lessons. Yes, and that's it. We have finished. We have finished our trip, and we really hope you enjoyed it. And let's see what we are going to show you next week. We don't know yet, but we will let you know. So thank you so much for following us. And for those who want to follow us in Italian, we are now starting with the last part of the Canary Islands. So a totally different area, but again, a very beautiful place. So see you soon and bye for now. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.